Hi, and welcome to the IIA's CIA Exam Part 3 Q&A Tips and Practice Questions webinar. My name is Kelly Quinn, and I will be your host for today's broadcast. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. If you experience any technical issues at any point today, please press the F5 key on your PC keyboard or the refresh key on your Mac, which will refresh your screen. That typically will resolve most issues. It's also recommended that you close out any other programs on your computer, such as your email, to ensure that you have the maximum bandwidth to view the program today. If you continue to experience any challenges, please send us a message using the Help widget on your console for technical assistance, and we will work with you in the background. We will also be taking questions at the conclusion if time permits, so please feel free to submit your questions at any time using the Q&A widget. And with that, I'd like to introduce our presenter today. Vicki McIntyre has helped hundreds of CIA candidates successfully pass their CIA exams. She's a globally recognized leader and trainer and is a passionate advocate for the internal audit profession. Vicki has been an IA volunteer leader for more than 25 years and was recently a member of the IIA's North American Board of Directors. With that, I'll now turn it over to Vicki.
Well, thank you, Kelly, and thank you for having me today. I'm happy to be here to share my experience and information that I have gleaned over the last 12 or 15 years of teaching the CIA exam prep courses. I want to start out by saying that, welcome to all of you for tuning into this Part 3 kind of exploration. This has historically been the toughest of the 3 parts of the CIA exam for people to pass. So hopefully you'll get some good insights and tips and tricks into this Part 3 exam, and it's going to help you be successful on your exam. So we're going to cover the exam syllabus. There are 4 primary sections in the Part 3 exam syllabus, and I'm going to spend probably 20 minutes or so going through that syllabus because I think it's very helpful to CIA candidates to understand the scope of material that's being tested. In the 100 multiple choice questions that you'll see on your Part 3 exam, it's a broad menu of topics. And I think that's one of the things that poses the greatest challenge is simply the sheer volume of material and various topics that we need to be familiar with in order to be successful on this exam. So we'll spend a good bit of time talking about the syllabus topics, and then we'll talk specifically about some study tips and how to best prepare for the exam, and some test-taking tips as well, so when you're actually sitting for your exam. And then we will explore some practice questions. So we'll look at some sample questions from various parts of the syllabus, and then we'll have a Q&A. And then Kelly will wrap it up at the end of the session, at the end of the hour today. So that's our agenda for today. Let's get into the conversation about the exam syllabus. So here you have your Part 3 exam. You'll have 100 multiple choice questions. You have 4 answer options for each of your questions. And you have 2 hours to answer your 100 questions. So the broad topics that are tested, you'll have approximately 35% of your questions from the business acumen topic, and then about 25 questions on information security and 20 questions on IT topics, and about 20 questions on financial management topics. So you should know that I'll go a little bit out of order here. In terms of preparing for the exam, it's very important that you learn to establish a rhythm as you're answering sample quiz questions. So as you're studying and using the IIA's CIA learning system, you will want to be monitoring your time so that you're using approximately 1 minute per question and no more. If you get a difficult question and you're going back and forth between two answers and struggling, which of these two answers is the best answer, it's imperative that you can choose an answer and flag the question and move on. What this will do for you with this 1 minute per question discipline and rhythm is that you will be about 1 hour and 40 minutes into your 2-hour time period when you reach the end of your exam questions. And that allows for a built-in buffer of time of about 20 minutes at the end of your exam so that you can circle back and revisit any of those questions that you flagged that you were unsure of. Very often, a subsequent question in the order of questions in the exam will trigger your memory around a topic or something specific that will help you to go back and answer with more certainty a previous question that you were unsure of. So that's my first study and test-taking tip, is to practice your time management and work on this rhythm of 1 minute per question so that you will have, you'll more easily manage your time anxiety around the time in the test, and then you'll be building in that buffer of time to circle back and revisit any questions that you were unsure of at the end of your exam. So let's get into a deeper dive of the exam syllabus topics. You see the 4 broad topics here on the screen. So let's talk a little bit more about some specifics. So the number of topics on the Part 3 exam has been refocused to core areas, specifically information security and information technology. So we saw on the previous slide that 45%, about 45 of your 100 questions are going to be on IT and IT security. We know that in today's business environment and the work of the internal auditor, IT touches everything. And information security and cyber risks and control, this is top of mind in the boardroom. This is a big deal, okay? So we know how cybersecurity risks and cyber attacks can adversely impact an organization's reputation. Anyway, we know that the auditor has to have this foundation of understanding. Even if we're not IT auditors, we need to have the fundamental understanding of information technology and information security. So about 45% of our exam questions will be on those 2 topics. The exam has a new subdomain topic on data analytics. And in that discussion, we talk about data analytics, types of analytics. We talk about governance. We explore structured versus unstructured data. We look at big data. We look at data analytics frameworks and processes. And then more specifically, we look at data analytics and the use of analytics in internal audit. This allows us, through using software tools and analytics, it allows us to focus our audits so that we can find anomalies and the outliers in detecting indicators of fraud. We can also use data analytics in compliance areas and in operational areas. So there's this whole new topic on the Part 3 exam on data analytics. I mentioned information security previously and IT, so it's expanded to include cyber risk and emerging technology practices. Emerging technologies such as IoT or the Internet of Things. We talk more about cloud computing and cloud service providers and risk and control there. We talk about smart devices and BYOD, bring your own devices, and the risks and controls that an organization needs to be mindful of in terms of employees bringing their own devices, such as mobile phones. We talk about smart devices in terms of cyber risk and cyber policies. Again, that's top of mind, top of the agenda in the boardroom. So the Part 3 exam addresses these topics. The largest domain is business acumen, and this is 35% of the exam. The IIA believes strongly that every internal auditor, certainly every certified internal auditor, needs to have a strong foundation of business understanding. We need to understand our organization's mission, our strategic objectives and our strategic plan. We need to understand globalization and competition and where we have competitive advantage, for example. So in this business acumen topic, we talk about organizational objectives and organizational behavior and performance. And this is a lot. This is a lot to unpack. We also talk about performance measures and establishing metrics and KPIs that are going to be measured and monitored and reported out, to give management information about assurances around accomplishing organizational objectives and business strategy. So that's another topic that we discuss. We talk about productivity measures. We talk about organizational behavior and performance management, motivation theories. We look at leadership skills and a number of leadership theories and kind of contrast leadership with management. The age-old definition of management, planning, organizing, directing, and controlling, we've seen a shift. Certainly managers have to manage, but we explored leadership and leadership theory and motivation theories and how that impacts the organization's ability to accomplish its objectives and strategy. So from there, again, in the business acumen topic, we talk about organizational structure and risk and control around various organization structures. Organization structure is one of those key elements of the control environment. The control environment is the first component of that COSO internal control framework. And as auditors, we love frameworks, right? The IIA loves to test you on your knowledge of frameworks and the application of frameworks to our audit process and to the organization in terms of governance, risk, and control. So organization structure, we talk about risk and control related to org structure. We talk about business process risks and controls. We talk about cycles such as the sales and accounts receivable and collection cycle, the procurement to pay cycle. We talk about projects and project management and different contract forms and elements, such as fixed price contracts and cost plus contracts, and the risks and controls of various contract types. So again, this business acumen topic, also we mentioned earlier in the second bullet here, the new subdomain on data analytics is included under the business acumen topic. So that data analytics topic will be part of your 35% of your questions on your Part 3 exam. Okay. So a portion of the exam requires the CIA candidate to demonstrate their basic understanding of concepts. Another portion requires candidates to demonstrate proficiencies in their knowledge, skills, and abilities. So at the basic level, you will see many, many questions on your exam, particularly in the IT and IT security domains, where you have to memorize terminology and definitions, and you need to understand the appropriate term and definition in the context of perhaps an internal audit problem. or challenge. And then there is a deeper proficiency level where you need to be able to take maybe 3 or 4 pieces of information that are posed in an exam question and pull that information together, analyze it, kind of synthesize it, and then come up with the best answer. So the proficiency is a deeper dive, a deeper level of understanding of the syllabus topics beyond just memorization and applying the concept in a simple context. Okay. So the one topic I haven't talked about yet on the syllabus is the financial management topic. This will be 20% of the exam questions. And this is basically, you have a whole lot of topics. Financial accounting and finance, understanding what comprises a complete set of financial statements, for example. We learn about disclosures and footnotes and footnote disclosures. We talk about finance versus accounting and the financial accounting and reporting. So you have your accounting, kind of 101 and 102, if you will. Then there are some advanced financial accounting topics as well. There's some financial analysis and financial ratios that are tested. Although I would say on the Part 3 exam, there are not a lot of calculations. So you don't have to do a lot of calculations, but what you do need to do is you need to understand from a set of financial statements in terms of ratio analysis, you need to understand what the ratios mean. What are the ratios telling us about the financial position of the organization? We need to understand the category of the ratios. Are they operating ratios? Are they, return on investment ratios? Are they measuring liquidity, that type of thing? And then also understand, is a higher ratio better or is a lower ratio better? So that's kind of the level at which you will be tested. But again, not a lot of calculations. So out of your 100 questions on your CIA Part 3 exam, I don't know because it's a closed exam, but you might see 2 or 3 actual calculations. And they'll be very simple calculations, okay? So again, financial statement ratios and analyses. We'll talk about the revenue cycle, talk about supply chain management. That's a big deal. We learned a lot about supply chain risks through COVID. And then we talk about capital budgeting and structure, taxation, transfer pricing. So all of that is wrapped up in the financial accounting and finance topic. And then we have managerial accounting, so cost accounting. And we kind of contrast the purpose of managerial accounting and different types of managerial accounting and costing systems, and distinguish managerial accounting as, the business use is primarily inside the organization. So managerial accounting is done for management's use, for understanding the business activities and for projecting into the future, for example, and making business decisions based on cost accounting and managerial accounting information. So managerial accounting also explores different types of costs, like fixed costs and variable costs, direct labor, direct materials. You might remember some of these concepts from your accounting courses in business school or university. I want to pause here and encourage anybody who is on the call today, if you don't have a business degree, it's okay. You can be successful by using the IIA's CIA learning system and having a disciplined and structured approach to your study. You can get through all of the material and be successful. And I like to share one of my testimonials from one of my students in class I was doing a comprehensive course for the U.S. Postal Service, and we had a CIA candidate who had been a manager of a retail post office in a neighborhood. And she rotated through internal audit and loved it. So she was working for the Inspector General's office, actually. And she did not have any business curriculum at all. She did not go to business school. She had an undergrad degree in sociology or psychology or one of the social sciences. But she used the CIA learning system, and she passed all 4 parts at the time it was a 4-part exam. This was quite some time ago. She passed all 4 parts with, just using the learning system and studying and being committed. So it's certainly doable. I had another CIA candidate, similar situation. She was actually a nurse. She was a registered nurse who worked for Kaiser Permanente. She rotated through internal audit, and she also wanted to earn her CIA certification. She didn't have any business school, but again, she passed. So, don't be discouraged by this financial management topic or any of the topics in the Part 3 exam. Like I said, it's a matter of commitment. It's a matter of studying and using a very systematic and disciplined approach to how you are preparing for this Part 3 exam. Okay, I'm going to move off of the discussion of the syllabus topics now and get more specifically into some studying and test-taking tips. So when you're preparing for any of the CIA exams, it's very important that you understand how you learn best. We know that, adult learners have some challenges. We may not grasp concepts as easily. We may have a siloed perspective of internal audit based on our work experience. So, for example, we need to understand that the CIA certification is globally recognized. It is portable all over the world. It is the platinum standard for the internal audit professional all around the globe. And so the questions and the content tested are teed up based on a very, very broad application of our standards and guidance. It's not going to be siloed according to a specific industry. For example, I grew up in financial services. I was a regulatory examiner with California State Banking. I had some experience as a VP finance in a small community bank. I did my public accounting time and had a lot of financial services clients. So my orientation had nothing to do with manufacturing, had nothing to do with retail, had nothing to do with healthcare. The point is that the exam questions are very broadly based, and you need to shift your mindset and your orientation around the application of the standards and guidance to any business, any discussion of risk and control. And we need to think logically, and we need to manage our anxiety. So you might become very anxious if you see a question that's, oriented around healthcare or retail or something that you're not familiar with. Or more specifically, if you are a government auditor, a public sector auditor who has worked in state or local government or provincial government or federal government, again, it might be a challenge to shift your mindset to that business orientation. The Part 3 exam is going to be oriented, I would just say it's more U.S.-centric. It is more oriented around a large organization, perhaps a publicly traded company where the stock is publicly traded on the exchanges, where they have a relatively large internal audit function. And so we need to shift our mindset and kind of reorient to that, to that background, I would say. So choose your study method, understand how you learn best, how you study best. You might want to do self-study. You might want to take a virtual course. The IIA offers a number of virtual courses. They are happening all the time. So virtual coursework is a good approach. There are also live classroom courses being taught more and more now that, we're about a year coming off COVID now. More and more we're seeing the live classroom courses. So there's a lot of opportunities for larger audit activities. The IIA can provide you with an instructor to actually come to your site, and you could host your own course for your internal audit function if you wanted to, or through your IIA chapter. You could have a course specific for the members of your chapter in your local area. So there's a lot of opportunities for instruction. The big takeaway here is that you need to plan your study time, calendar your study time, look at your baseline understanding of the topics, and the CIA learning system has some great tools for you to take kind of a pre-test and get an understanding of the syllabus topics today. And that allows you to look at your weaker areas and plan your study time. Again, calendaring your study time and showing up for your appointments. Don't procrastinate. Treat this like a self-study university course. And if you're starting today and your goal is to, finish this by the end of the calendar year, 2023, you can establish your blocks of study time 4 or 5 days a week between now and the end of the year, and you can get it done. We've had a number of discussions about the standards changing and the impact on the CIA examinations. So the standards will be changing early next year. Our Internal Audit Standards Board has been hard at work for a couple of years, and we've had the public comment period. The IIA has already received a couple thousand comments from many, many different sources, from academics, from regulators, from internal audit professionals, all around the globe. So the new standards will be effective in January. However, the CIA examination will not change until around March of 2025. So at this point, we have about 18 months that we can capitalize on to get our CIA certification now. I highly encourage you to do it now. You're already familiar with the standards. You've been working in an environment using the Red Book standards, since 2017 was the last major revision. So we've got 6 years under our belt. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait until the standards change, because we're going to have a steep learning curve around implementing the new standards, and then also, taking a brand new CIA exam. So I highly encourage everybody on the call today, get it done. Get it done now. You don't want to wait. Another practical reality is that business is changing so quickly. Technology is changing so quickly. The world is changing, right? I mean, we've seen this in recent weeks with what's going on in Israel and Gaza. We need to get it done now. Don't wait for more complexities, to come around the corner and these additional risks and additional layers of risk, we will see these changes incorporated into the CIA examination in the future. So another good reason to get it done now. Don't procrastinate. Flashcards. One of the greatest features of the CIA learning system is flashcards. This has terminology, definitions, a lot of great, tools for you to be able to memorize the key topics in the exam syllabus. So that's a tool that's available to you. You can keep it soft copy, virtually, whatever, but you'll definitely want to capitalize on that tool. Focus on the proficiency areas. I just discussed the difference between the basic, fundamentals, and the deeper dive proficiency areas. Excuse me just a moment. I apologize. Okay. So you want to understand the application of the topics, the application to the standards and the guidance, the IIA standards and guidance. The Part 3 exam is much less oriented around internal audit standards than Part 1 and Part 2. However, specifically in the IT area, for example, we have a standard that references the mandate that we consider IT governance, in our audit work. So that's one area that we need to understand the application of the syllabus topics and to the standards and guidance. Again, you want to go beyond memorization. You want to be able to, really have a good handle on the various topics so that you can apply the topics to a business challenge or an audit scenario. You want to be prepared for the Pearson VUE exam experience. So definitely prepare for that, the CIA exam experience, and you'll get this through the CIA learning system. The final exam for the Part 3 syllabus is a 100-question exam, and the user interface exactly has the look and feel of what you're going to experience when you take your actual CIA exam. So, and the final point, consider real-life examples. Think about your audit work. Think about the 4 domains in the Part 3 exam: the business acumen, the IT, the information security, and the financial management topics. And think about the real-life application of the various syllabus topics in real life, okay? So let's talk about test-taking tips. When you see a very lengthy, verbose question, read the last sentence of the question before you read all the details. Look at the sentence with the question mark at the end so that you understand the question is being asked. Our number one test-taking tip is to read the question. Read it thoroughly and understand what is being asked. So read the question first, then go back and read the details. Anticipate your answer. So think about your answer before you read the answer options. Being aware of the qualifiers in the exam question. Look for words like except for, or least likely, or most likely. Okay? Look for words like always or never. Always or never answers are probably not going to be the correct answer, those kinds of absolutes. Okay? So again, think of your answer before reading the answer options. Think very broadly. Think globally. Remember, it's an international profession. Your CIA certification, portable all over the world. So you need to think outside of your experience and your industry. Eliminate the obvious distractors. So very often you're going to have two answers that are clearly not the correct answers. So eliminate those, and then you're going to be toggling back and forth between two remaining answers. Again, choose the one that has the broadest applicability. Trust your first impressions. Avoid analysis paralysis. If you're unsure of an answer, answer it anyway, but flag it so that you can go back, you circle back to that question at the end of your exam time. And again, if you've established that rhythm of time, 1 minute per question, you'll have a built-in buffer. You'll have a cushion of time to go back and review those that you were uncertain about. Budget your time, use your good time management skills. Don't rush, be sure you read the question. And again, be well rested, be comfortable, eat a good meal. Be prepared for the Pearson VUE exam experience. Okay, let's look at some practice exam questions. And I'm gonna use my 1 minute per question approach here so that we can kind of start to get the rhythm for the 1 minute. So here we go with the first question in 1 minute. Ten seconds remaining. Okay. Go ahead and click on your answer, please. Set this up as a polling question, so you should have already determined your answer. Please click on your answer. Very nice. Okay, we have 68% answered this one correctly. Very good. I want to make a point here. You could eliminate a credit department, right? This question is really about key performance indicators or metrics. So the qualifier there, a credit department, we could read this question and say, which is an appropriate consideration in evaluating key performance indicators? And we could answer the question correctly. So you may never have had any kind of experience with even thinking about risk and control related to a credit department. And you can still answer this, correctly. Okay, very good. We have more than 2/3 got this one right. Okay, second question. Here we go. And I'll go ahead and pull up the poll. 1 minute. 10 seconds remaining. Please get your answers in. Everybody should be doing this. 5 seconds. Okay, here we go. Make recommendations to address the issue. This is excellent. Again, we can take out the qualifiers here. We can say an auditor discovers a weakness in controls. What should the auditor do? We wouldn't run to the board first, right? It's not our job to resolve the risk exposure. It's not our job to set the deadline for fixing the weakness in controls. We would make recommendations to address the issue. So 84% got this one correct. This is excellent. Okay, third question. We'll give you 1 minute. Ten seconds remaining. Force yourself to choose an answer. Time management. Okay, time is up. Very good. More than 50% answered this one correctly. The very best answer is answer C, like Charlie. The framework should be modified to reflect risk appetite and risk tolerance. Okay. Very good. And one more question, I believe. 1 minute, please. Financial management topic. Ten seconds remaining. And time is up. Now I want to pause here. If you don't have any accounting background, you've never done any kind of financial statement analysis, you're not even aware of the financial statement, the balance sheet, the income statement, statement of cash flows. Think about your own personal experience with applying for credit, okay, which applies more to the income statement. Think about yourself if you're applying for a car loan. You want to buy a new car, okay? So inventory levels are not going to be relevant. Capital structure is relevant more to the balance sheet or the statement of financial position. Liquidity is measured by the balance sheet. That's cash and accounts receivable and short-term marketable securities. These are the elements that comprised liquidity calculations. So the correct answer is D, Delta, evaluating creditworthiness. Okay, we are pretty evenly spread out here. So liquidity is a measure of the organization's ability to meet its short-term obligations through its cash and liquid assets, able to pay its payroll, able to pay its suppliers, that type of thing. So liquidity evaluations will be determined by by balance sheet analysis. Creditworthiness is much more oriented around the income statement. Okay, so here we go. I think, Kelly, can you kind of tee up some of the common threads of the questions we're seeing in the chat so we can address some of the hot topics?
Absolutely, yes. We have some time for some questions, and there's been some great ones coming in. So if you have any additional questions, please continue to put those in the Q&A function widget. So this is a question for you, Vicki. Will you please help explain the exam scoring and what score a candidate needs to pass?
Okay, this is a very good question. The scoring is scaled scoring. The range for the scaled scoring is 250 points to 750 points. As soon as you sit down at your computer and you log into your exam, you earn 250 points. Every correct question answered after that adds to your score, and you need a minimum of 600 points to pass. Now, you might be thinking, okay, 600 out of 750, that's 80%. Well, it's not a straight 80% calculation. Because of the scaled scoring, your raw score is calculated based on the number of questions that you answer correctly, and it is converted to a reporting scale that ranges from 250 to 750 points. So you need a score of 600 or higher to pass, but again, the questions are weighted based on technical difficulty, okay? So you need 600 out of 750 to pass, and if you are successful on your exam, you will simply be told that you have passed. If you defer success to a future attempt, you will get a score. You will get a score of something less than 600, and you'll get sort of a kind of a high-level diagnostic of where you need to study a lot more, or you need moderate study in various syllabus topics. Okay?
Perfect. Thanks, Vicki. Some other questions have been coming in around how much time they should allow to study for Part 3.
Okay, this is a very good question, another commonly asked question. It depends on you. It depends on how recently you've come out of college or university or an educational environment. Because if you're used to reading and you're used to studying and you're used to taking tests, your study time is going to be more efficient than the person who's been out of school for 10 or 20 years. I had another candidate, another CIA candidate, and the gentleman had just finished his MBA. And this happened to also be from the U.S. Postal Service. He had just finished his MBA, and he was brand new to the audit function. He was quite young. He did not have a lot of work experience, but he took his Part 3 exam, and he passed it on his very first attempt with very little study. Other people, I can tell you, I'm a baby boomer. I didn't have any IT experience. I didn't have any information security experience, and I was scared to death of the IT topics. I didn't want to fail. I was already a CPA. I was a certified public accountant. And I already had a number of years of really good work experience. I had the financial management topic completely wrapped up, no problem there. but I was fearful of failing. I studied about 80 or 90 hours for part 3, and I passed it on the first attempt. But I did not want to fail. I wanted to make sure that I was successful. So, I studied a lot. The average study time is about 50 hours for part 3, 50 hours. And then you need to determine, be realistic with your time, with your life commitments, your work, your family, your volunteerism, whatever you do. However you do life, be realistic about how many hours per week can you commit to studying and calendar your study time. The important takeaway here is to have a plan. Have a plan. Calendar your study time and commit. This is your investment in your career. It's your investment in yourself. You're in charge, and it's all about you. So plan your time, and you'll get through it. But it's, like I said, the recommendations around 50 hours minimum. I just shared with you that for me, in spite of really good work experience and, being a CPA, I studied about 80 or 90 hours.
Perfect. Thanks, Vicki. There's been a number of questions of candidates asking if they are going to receive a recording of this session. And yes, I will provide a link in just a minute here of where you can find the recording. We'll also email you a copy afterwards. And at the conclusion of the broadcast today, we're also going to share a special discount code for you, which would apply to the IACI Learning System materials as a thank you for attending the session. So we'll get to that in a second. We have time for a few more questions first. Let's see here. Vicki, this is another question for you. Do you recommend that they take an instructor-led course, and will that help them pass the exam?
That's a really good question. I think if you learn by hearing from others in a course, if you do well in a study group atmosphere, if you need accountability, if you need a structured approach and following the syllabus topics, specifically with an instructor, then you're going to want to take an instructor-led class. Other people can be very independent and do quite well studying on their own. It just depends on your learning preferences and how you learn best.
Great. Another question is, do I need to take the exam parts in sequential order? Should I start with part 3? What's your recommendation on that?
Again, it depends on you. You can take the exams in any order. That's the answer to one part of the question. You can take the exams in any order. I gave you the example of the gentleman in my course who just came out of his MBA program, and he took his Part 3 course first. He passed his Part 3 exam, and, he was off to the races with earning his CIA certification. If you're brand new to internal audit and you're not familiar with the attribute standards and fundamentals of governance, risk, and control that are tested in the Part 1 exam, and you're not familiar yet with methodology, doing risk-based planning, engagement level planning, preparing an audit program, understanding scope and objectives, executing the test steps, and then reporting on the work, and then monitoring for management's remediation. If you're not familiar with the audit process and methodology, which is basically the Part 2 exam, and you're just out of business school, it might serve you well to take Part 3 first. Again, it depends on you. If you're working in a Red Book activity that very closely follows IIA standards and guidance, you might want to take Part 1, then Part 2, and then save Part 3 for the end. Again, it depends on you.
Perfect. There's some questions that are coming in asking about the challenge exams. I can help answer this question. So if you are an active CA or a CPA from one of the IA's approved qualified accounting bodies, or if you are an active CISA holder from the association ISACA, you may be able to take or qualify for a challenge exam, which is a one-part exam, and become a CIA. So we'd recommend you take a look at the IA.org, search for the challenge exams, and you'll see the eligibility requirements there. But that is an expedited path if you hold one of those certifications from one of the IA's qualified accounting bodies. And the registration window for the next round of challenge exams will open up on April 1st. So you would need to wait till April 1st to register. And then there are just different exam windows, but all the information can be found on those challenge exam pages at theia.org. Okay, let's see here. Another questions have come in. If they, Vicki, this is for you. If somebody scores or answers a question incorrectly on the exam, will they be penalized for it?
No, you're not penalized for an incorrect answer. That's why we say you must answer every question. You know, the ones that you're not sure about, flag them and build in that buffer of time to circle back. No, when you sit down and start your exam, you get 250 points. As soon as you log in, as soon as you click start, now you can only go up from there, okay? And each successive question that you answered gives you an opportunity to build that score up to 600, okay? No, you're not penalized for incorrect answers.
Okay, perfect. We just have a couple more minutes here, so I just would like to wrap up with a special offer for those on the call today. So thank you for attending. We'd like to offer you 20% off on the CI Learning System materials. You may order with this discount code at learnci.com. The code that you enter at checkout in the discount code field is PART, all in capital letters, and then number 3. And that offer will be available through the end of October. So you can see here the discounted prices. There are also additional discounts available for IA members. If you're interested in taking one of those instructor-led courses that Vicki mentioned, you may also go to learnci.com and click on course listings, and you'll find all the classes that are offered around the world in both a virtual and in-person formats. So that's the listing here. And then, as I mentioned, we will send out a link to this recording. Give us a couple of days, and it will also be posted at learnci.com at this URL here. Or if you just go to learnci.com and click on free tools, you'll find copies of pre-recorded webinars. So if you'd like to listen to one from part 1 or 2, or even from the challenge exams, we have webinars that we've recorded throughout the year, and they're available to download there for no charge. Under that free tool section, there's also all sorts of free tools, such as free practice questions, free test-taking tips. So please feel free to go out to learnci.com and utilize those resources that we've pulled together. So with that wraps up the conclusion of today's broadcast. Many thanks to Vicki for a great presentation today. And we will display the post-event survey to you. If you're not able to see the survey, please go to the resources tab where you can locate the survey link. And if we're not able to get to your question today, we will follow up with you directly. But thank you again, and I hope you have a great day.